whatever you do, don't let it fall into the wrong hands.
Okay, so I'm going to try, thank you for that tutorial. I'm sure we're going to need tips as we go along, but I'm going to try to move you guys to where the party left off last time we played. So hopefully, if I've understood like Fog of War and everything correctly, you'll see something resembling what we saw before. All right.
Oh.
Okay, so what can you see?
Black.
You can see black.
In the top right, I can see a dinosaur picture.
Oh, nice, cool. And that's all you can see?
Dinosaurs.
Nice. Okay, cool. Because I think Fog of War is a cool feature. I just want to make sure I'm using it correctly. Okay, all right. So so far so good. I'll do a quick introduction. You guys just crossed over this bridge that was guarded by a giant stone guardian statue. Some of you cleverly avoided its advances by climbing underneath the bridge along the vines, some of you turning into an ape, some of you communicating with an ape in a particularly effective manner, some of you falling, and then getting rescued at the other end. One of you sprouted wings and flew, Maeve's character, I believe. Scroungemore decided to scurry along the bridge in the hopes of just scurrying his way to the end. And I think it was Scrubbergog and Wood who climbed underneath on the vines. Akal, I believe, also climbed underneath, and you all successfully made it to the end, at which point you breathed a sigh of relief as you saw the Stone Guardian sort of go back to its place at the central portion of the bridge. And you're all there right now, breathing heavily, and that's where we come back to the action.
All right.
Just a quick note now for Sam. Let me remember what your character's name is. Sorry, Sam.
Jack's hot bottom.
I knew it. I knew it was coming, but it was still funny. Okay, Jax, you notice through the sort of foliage of the jungle that you're peeking through during one of your routine scouting missions on the outskirts of the village. You notice, for the last 5 minutes, a group of semi-competent adventurers traversing this bridge and sort of making it to the end unscathed. There were some near misses, some almost deaths, and you think to yourself, perhaps these are some resources you can leverage to your advantage. What do you do?
Okay, are they chimpanzees right now?
One of them, I think Wood is still, unless they've turned back, and I think Scrubbergog just was themselves. Is that correct?
Yes, always myself.
But communicating with the apes as though they were one of them.
Okay, I'm going to do a very poor stealth roll as I hide and try and keep an eye on you guys.
Ooh, maiden roll. Here we go. I'm going to hope that I see it. Oh, you have so let me just clarify. Is in brackets 4 your modifier?
Yes, it should be. I
Okay.
have a +4.
So
It looks like I rolled a 6 on there, yep.
okay, cool. All right.
How
So
do you do these stealth rolls? Do you just type...
If your skills are set up, you can just click the skill button in your character sheet.
Okay.
or if you can't find it or something, or you could also just roll the dice and you could do the math manually. I suppose it's up to you. With a stealth roll of 10, I'm gonna say, based on the passive perception of the team,
Of anyone.
you hear what sounds like someone trying to mash foliage into paste as this halfling in scouting attire comes trudging out of the nearby jungle, sort of crouched over, looking stealthy, but incredibly loudly. Like one twig held up in front of his face, but like not really covering his face. How do you react?
You guys look straight at me and I try and move behind the bush again.
Jesus Christ. We got to help this poor fella.
He's-
Hey.
He's like you, little midget man. Midgets.
Wait.
Midgets everywhere.
You guys are speaking common? I'll just step out now. Dudes!
Right, I whispered to the others, don't make him angry. He's clearly unhinged.
Okay, I'm gonna say
talking to myself.
this is gonna be fun. All right, you could do Jax, right? You could do either a performance or persuasion check to see how charming this display of friendship is.
Okay. I mean, I'm not doing a show yet, so I'll just be trying to come out and talk to them. So persuasion seems legit.
Okay, 8 with an 8. Not a great start. Okay. Oh, what is
I
your?
just come barreling out. Yeah.
Yeah, you come barreling out, and he's kind of tripping over his words a little bit because he's so excited to see you. But you get the sense that he's excited to see you.
What's that stain on your trousers?
I don't know. It's probably just mud or something. Forget about it. What are you doing here? You're talking common? I've been talking to myself for weeks. I haven't heard anyone who can talk my language. Oh, people! This is great.
What have you been eating?
This is awesome. I've been eating food. They got food back there, but they're crazy. Let me tell you.
What did they do to you?
Just 1 second. I just want to clarify because it's been a while. Scroungemore, you're also a halfling, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Midgets everywhere.
So, Jex, you see a halfling about your stature who has a sort of roguish glint in his eye, despite being, I think, a sorcerer. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So he's got a sort of tricksy vibe about him. Then you see a half-orc female with just muscles for days. So the complete opposite, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito kind of feel. And then you see Wood, a very crunchy, sort of covered in vines and leather and woven together leaves kind of character, just sort of standing there very zen. And then you see Maeve and a very burly sort of dwarf that looks a little bit put out by the situation. That's the scene set before you.
Okay. I'm just gonna go. Well, let's see. Who's the other halfling seems to have responded fairly warmly to me just showing up. So I'll just be like, big guy, let me tell you, you gotta help me, dude. You gotta get me out of here. They're crazy. They want to eat me.
Yeah. I can take a step back and hide behind Scruggle. As is my way.
It's your go-to move.
I am wondering if I can do the great circus feat of halfling juggling.
Okay. How do you...
Hey, you're gonna get me out of here. You can juggle me all you like.
Look, we'll take you back to the nearest city, okay?
Okay, but let me just tell you what's happened, okay? You know, this is gonna be a lot easier if I Okay, let's go. You guys know what you're doing. Let's go find a place where we can sit down, have a drink. Just a clearing, maybe not on a treacherous bridge.
Okay.
Kind of,
All right, you're looking
crazy
for...
monster.
I would say you know this local stretch of jungle pretty well. I don't think you need to check. You know where the nearest clearing is.
Okay.
Yeah. Lead on, you crazy bastard.
So while we're walking, I'm just gonna be like, "Where are you guys from? What's going on? What are you doing out here? Did you come to look for the elder?
Like an elder mystic, I think. Anything along those lines.
Did you come out seeking the mystic? Because, he's not all he's cracked up to be.
I bumped my head while running past that big bridge guardian, and I really can't remember what the fuck we're doing out in this jungle right now. I think there was a vision, and I think we're probably on a quest. We're definitely in the right place.
Yeah, let me fill you in. You spoke to the leader of one of the sort of religious orders in the city, and you're investigating the general presence of this sort of curse that's preventing people from healing and coming back to life. And you came across a temple in which the leader of the temple was being accosted by some assassin-like figures. You saved him from from his fate, and then he rewarded you by granting you a consultation with his gods, basically, that would grant him a vision. Even though they hadn't recently, they seemed to grant him one for you, and he saw this sort of what's that thing called? That, like, the Washington Monument is one of these things. Like
an obelisk.
Obelisk, thank you. He saw an obelisk out in the jungle, and he gave you a direction vaguely that you should go, and I believe it was like south. Yeah, I think he just gave you a generally southerly direction and said that is what you seek. That is where this mystery could be potentially unraveled.
Scrubbergog knows why we're here.
Scrubbergog's got it
Looking
covered.
for pancakes still.
Wait, you guys adventure.
Just searching for pancakes.
Sam, you're muted, but we can hear you through Zach.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. So you got that new guy. The mysterious voice just filled you in on everything. So
All right, well, you bumped your head.
pancakes and obelisk.
All right, well, let me show you what I can do. And you apparently bumped your head. Have you lost any hit points?
No.
Have you? I mean, potentially during this exchange, we can't remember. We'll say you've lost 2 hit points.
Okay.
Hit
Watch
points
this.
talking to Sam.
No. Okay, you've got an injury on your head. You bumped your head on that guardian. Well, watch this. La 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 la. Me. Righteous healing. And I cast healing word on you.
Okay.
And I heal you 2 hit points.
Yeah. Do you need to roll? I mean, is your minimum modifier probably going to heal that anyway? But typically you would roll, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say it overloads you with wellness and holy energy, and you feel the power of metal suffuse your being.
Holy shit. I'm Wolverine.
Very, very pretty song.
By this time, the sun is starting to slowly set beyond the canopy as you reach this clearing that Jax has described.
Okay. So I'll give you. Let me fill you in real quick. Oh, I'm Jex Hotbottom, the greatest performer the world doesn't know about yet.
Okay.
But we don't have a lot of time here. Because, you know that there's a village just near here, and I think they want to eat me. And if I don't get back and put on a show for them, things aren't going to look so good. Now, I want to get away from here, so I'll jump out of character just for a moment and fill you in. Well, no, I'll do it all in. So I came out here looking for this mystic thing so I could get the power, you know, to talk to the gods or to sing with whatever. I don't know, dude. I was trying to figure out what was going to happen. But, I ended up, these guys captured me, took me back here, and now they don't know that my singing is magic, okay? So they think I'm just a guy, and if they you know, they can't understand what I'm saying, but I put on a pretty good show. You might have seen that. So, I keep performing for them, they don't need me. Now, I've been looking around this area, I've been trying to figure a way out of here. But, if I don't go back and put on a show, and listen, dudes, I'm so keen to get out of here. As soon as I will come with you. I will tell you stories. Look, I start juggling. I start putting on some like.
Gravagog likes music. So
I'll put on a performance while I'm telling my story.
Seems appropriate.
Let's hope this one goes better.
Wow, I want whatever
There we
you.
go.
Oh
whatever
wow!
you've
What
been
what kind?
smoking, That's what I want.
Sorry,
So
what kind
I
of
start telling
performance do you
this
give?
tale like as if it's a story, like
Oh, wow.
as if it's a piece of lore about how I got captured and how like, oh no, our hero's been this and that, and then I say like, I would love to get out of here. The only thing is, my legendary fiddle is back at that village.
Oh. Okay, so you just hear the most impressive and engaging storytelling performance of your, I don't know, young lives. But you feel at the climax of this story that what's the word? A bump in the road has occurred that has jolted you out of its spell when he reveals that the fiddle, key to this story, has been left behind in the village. And that's how you feel at this moment.
it's funny, Hot Bottom, because someone back in the city warned us there was a legendary fiddler to watch out for.
Good one, you got me there. Oh, nice. Oh, it's been months since I heard someone roast me. I love it. But anyway, we're running out of time, okay? Here's the plan.
Let's go.
I gotta go put on a show. I gotta distract them. They won't notice you. They love me there. But let me give you a quick layout. I give them a rundown of the village layout and where my stuff is.
Okay, cool.
And it's like, you gotta get in there and you gotta get back out. Look, I got some other stuff that might be helpful there, but the fiddle, if you have to leave everything else, get the fiddle.
Okay, so just before we
It's
continue...
Delilah, the legendary fiddle.
Jalila. I love that. As you land your giant eagles, you see embedded in the cliffs ahead of you a very elaborate sort of monastery creation. You smell the scents of beer, and you hear, as you're quite close to the foot of this sort of like series of wooden walkways, you hear the sizzle of pancakes crush the air with its sound waves. Yeah. And that is where we will end our session. Wow, good work everyone. Holy shit.